Chapter 10, Part 1. As you see in the outline from the textbook, there are 6 sections in this chapter. And this chapter is going to, this video is going to go over the material in Part 1, Intelligence in Historical Perspectives, where we're going to look at Galton and Binet's mental tests. I'm just going to remind everyone that in addition to the videos, you have the slides. And I've also put at the bottom of the Connect main page full chapter readings. Okay, so the chapter readings that are mandatory, the 25-minute chapter readings, those are in the top folder. In the bottom folder, marked full chapter readings. Those are there for you to study and learn the material and practice for the tests. They are not marked. I have no idea if you've done them, how you did on them, nothing. Okay, they're there for your reference and to help you out. Okay, so with that said, let's start with intelligence. So it's important to note that intelligence is a socially constructed concept, which partially sparks why there are so many different definitions, and there's disagreement over what exactly intelligence is across cultures. People differ widely in how they learn, remember, think, and behave, as we've learned throughout the chapters so far. And so what psychologists are interested in, and what we're going to look at in this chapter, is can we measure these differences and predict the success and failure in life settings? Psychologists also look at what is the nature of intelligence, what factors account for the differences that we see in people's cognitive, emotional, and behavioral skills. The definition that this texts use for intelligence is: intelligence is the ability to acquire knowledge, to think and reason effectively, and to deal adaptively with the environment. The two big names when it comes to talking about intelligence and the development of the current perspectives on intelligence are Sir Francis Galton and Alfred Binet. So we're going to look at the two, their two approaches and their two perspectives and how they differed. The first is Sir Francis Galton. He saw intelligence, he argued that it had a biological basis and that it was hereditary. He was a cousin of Darwin, so shared many of his views in terms of things being hereditary, and the theory of evolution. And what he noticed is that when he studied families, he saw that people who were very intelligent, it seemed to occur within certain families, right? So he ran studies that he thought were going to demonstrate the efficiency of the nervous system. And this is where partially where intelligence was rooted. So, he measured reaction speed, hand strength, sensory acuity. He also measured people's skulls. He thought that people who were more intelligent would have a different size skull. So, in seeing intelligence running in families, he assumed that it had the biological basis, but he also dismissed the fact that more successful people, they all came from higher SES families, social economic status families. So eventually his work came under scrutiny because all of his research looking at the relationship between the nervous system as a way of nervous system efficiency as related to intelligence, it just proved to be unrelated to socially relevant measures of mental ability, right, such as academic and occupational success. But nonetheless, his work created interest in the measurement of intelligence. Then we move to Alfred Binet's mental tests. So Binet was commissioned by France's Ministry of Public Education to develop intelligence tests. So the reason for this is because they were interested in why, when you've got a large group of children, some of them benefit from traditional public school methods of learning, and some of them didn't. So they're looking at um, why is there this difference in children who are experiencing the same learning environment. So Binet was looking for practical answers. He wasn't interested in testing theories or that line of research. He was looking for practical answers to why do some children learn or appear to learn more or faster than other children. So he had two basic assumptions about intelligence, which is important to remember. One is that mental abilities develop with age. And two is that the rate at which people gain mental abilities is constant over time. Binet came up with the term and the concept of mental age. And this is important to remember. So what he did was he interviewed school teachers, experienced school teachers, and asked them what sorts of problems kids could do at different ages, right? So what kind of problems can they do at age 3, age 4, age 5? Compiled all of this data, and then he used these answers to develop a standardized interview um, to estimate what mental age a child is working at. So, for example, if you're interviewing a child or you're testing them, the child of a chronological age of 8 could actually have the mental age of 10 if they're able to solve problems of standard, an average 10-year-old, or conversely, they could have the mental age of 6, right? They were only able to solve problems that the average 6-year-old could do. So that's the concept of mental age from Binet. So here's some examples from the Stanford Binet Intelligence Test. Okay, so for example, age 3, the child should be able to point to objects that serve various functions, such as goes on your feet, right? Point to a pair of shoes and knows that it goes on your feet. Name pictures of objects, such as a chair, flag, whatnot. Repeat a list of 2 words or digits, right? Car, dog, whatnot. And you can see there for age 4. And here's just some more examples. So by the age of 12, the child should be able to define words such as muzzle, maybe more complicated words, repeat 5 digits in reverse order, solve verbal absurdities such as Bill's feet are so big he has to pull his trousers over his head. What is foolish about that? So they need to be able to sort of problem solve and figure that out. The next person that we're going to talk about is William Stern. So William Stern was a German psychologist that came along around the same time, slightly after Binet, and he expanded the concept of mental age. Okay, so he developed what is known as now IQ, intelligent quotient. And what the IQ is you take the mental age of the child and you divide it by the chronological age, and you multiply that by 100. So thus a child performing at their age level has an IQ of 100. Well, I think we're all fairly familiar with IQ. So an average is 100 because you are your age divided by your mental age times 100 is 1. Yeah. Anywhere between the range of 80 and 120 is considered of average intelligence, right? Below an IQ below 80 is considered challenged, and an IQ of above 120 is starting to get into somebody who has a higher mental or higher intelligence, or gifted. as we've heard that term. So today we do not use mental age anymore. IQ score is not a quotient, and rather it's based on performance relative to people's scores of their same age. So they stopped using the mental age divided by chronological age ratio because it just doesn't make sense when people get older. So instead, IQ is now, it is based on your performance on a test, and you are rated relative to people of your own age. In the last section, they talk Binet's legacy and intelligence testing industry emerges. They go over how intelligence tests have developed over time and what we've learned and how things moved along. So on the left here, we've got the tests that they talk about. So just familiarize yourself with them and what effect they had. So, for example, the Stanford Binet was developed by Terman. It was an American version. That's the American version of the test, and it was very much verbal. Okay, you had to have verbal ability to do the test. So along came after that, Otis came up with the Army Alpha. And the reason that is because they were measuring people in the Army, and many of which they were unable to read, so they couldn't do the Stanford Binet. So they came up with a nonverbal intelligence test consisting of mazes and pictures and that sort of thing. After that, because those were adults, right? Lord Thorndike came up with another test, and that one was for children, nonverbal for children. So a similar test to Otis's, but it was not for adults anymore. That was aimed towards children. And then finally, the Wechsler Adult and Children's Test. This measures both verbal and nonverbal. And the Wechsler test is now the most popular individually administered intelligence test in North America. So please familiarize yourself with that last section to do with the Wechsler Adult and Children's Test. So that's it. That is the first section. It's important to have this grounding and know where the different tests came from and how the development of how we measure intelligence moved along and developed throughout history. In the next video, we're going to look at the nature of intelligence. So, see you in the next video.